I started playing trumpet the summer before 5th grade. I was lucky enough to be part of some great music programs growing up in Indiana. I really took an interest in big band music in high school, where we played a lot of music from the bands of Count Basie, Duke Ellington, and Stan Kenton. All through college and even in the Army, I've been focused on being a well-rounded musician. I was mainly focused on playing classical music and lead trumpet in commercial settings. I was always inspired by Miles Davis and Freddie Hubbard, but it wasn't until the last couple of years that I really wanted to learn how to improvise. The problem was, I really didn't know where to start. I was overwhelmed by all of the information available to me. It wasn't until I went back to the basics that I started feeling a little more comfortable. Today, we're going to give you a few tools to help you along the way. Let's get started. Someone once told me jazz as a language, and that made all the difference. The first thing we need to do is to make sure we are speaking the same language. We do this by immersing ourselves in the music and by learning tunes, preferably by ear. Learning a tune will give us a common place to start so that we can make music together. It also informs us of melody, harmony, form, and can give us basic ideas to use during improvisation. The most important part is to learn songs from multiple recordings. Much like language, the best way to learn is to immerse yourself in how it sounds. You have a lot of options when picking a tune. Historically, jazz musicians have used songs from musicals, big bands, the Great American Songbook, originals, and the blues. A lot of people agree that a great place to start is with the blues. The blues that we will use today is Blues 7 by the great Sonny Rollins. Now we know the melody, let's take a look at the chord changes. A standard blues is 12 bars long and typically has 3 chords. Jazz players often get a little more adventurous with the harmony, but the foundation consists of the same form. Let's take a look at a traditional blues, and then we'll take a look at the changes for Blues 7 in the key of B-flat concert. Look down in the description below for a printable PDF. Let's dig into the chord changes a little here. A chord is just a collection of notes played at the same time. If we use the notes in the chord or chord tones, we can't really go wrong. If the form is the story, the chord changes are the sentences, and the chord tones are vocabulary. We string together words to form ideas to tell a unique story. You can use chord tones to practice the changes and to inform your soloing. Just a quick note, playing a solo on just the chord tones won't necessarily produce a great solo, but it will give you a way to practice and get familiar with how the changes sound. Check out this example. Here's where all that time spent practicing scales can pay off. Scales are a way to open your vocabulary. A toddler might say, where an adult might say, hey, there's a cat over there. Take a look at this fancy graphic. There are some scales that go with each chord. Check out the description below for a printable PDF. Here's an example of using scales to practice the chord changes. Let's talk about one more important scale, the blues scale. If you look closely, you will see a few notes that don't belong in the key or in the chords. You can use this scale for the entire song. Using these non-chord tones can get a bluesier sound to your solo. One of the things that makes jazz sound different than other music is the use of non-chord tones like the ones in the blues scale. Check out Sergeant Nick Rice practicing the blues scale. Now we need to take all the tools we have talked about and apply them into practicing. Limit your solo ideas at first, using one tool at a time. Use the chord tones, the scales, or the blues scale, and then start combining them as you feel comfortable. The next example, we're going to show you how to apply this. The first chorus, we'll use one idea at a time, and the second chorus will be a little more free. See if you can hear which tool we're using. By putting all the tools together, the ones that we discussed and the ones you discover through your own practicing, you can find unique ways to create your own music. Using each tool on their own won't make a great solo, but they will give you the tools you need to navigate the chord changes. When I see a water fountain, I call it a drinking fountain. But Sergeant Newton might call it a
water fountain.
Sergeant Rice would probably call it a
Bubble.
Staff Sergeant Lopsov would call it a
Get the fontainchik.
In the same way, where we are from influences the words we use to communicate. The music we listen to and play influences our soloing. Thanks for spending time with Pacific Beat from America's First Score Band. Keep practicing, listening, and transcribing. Take care, and we'll see you soon.